Welcome back to Mountain Connections. I'm excited to talk to Tammy Ward. She is here of Hope Haven Events to talk about energy healing. I don't honestly know a lot about the subject, but I'm excited to learn more because there's a big conference coming up in Salt Lake City in June. So here to tell us more is Tammy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here. I'm excited.
Well, I'm looking forward to learning more. I'm not very familiar with this, but it sounds like there's a lot of interest. You produce conferences all over the country. You've had thousands and thousands of people that attend these conferences. There's a lot of interest and a lot of energy behind it, of course. Tell me a little bit about what you do and what it is.
Awesome. So I don't know how many of your viewers are familiar with alternative health options that are out there, but you walk into a health food store nowadays, you're going to find things like Bach flower remedies, more of the subtle frequencies that energy medicine has out there. You'll also find things like homeopathy remedies. There's so many different options for people to be able to really help them empower themselves with their health. Really, we're looking at a grand scope of things. We have dozens of classes coming up at this conference, but for myself, I've been involved since about 2012 in learning about different forms, like different modalities, like tapping on different meridian points. For those of your viewers who are familiar with acupuncture, that also is dealing with the meridian points as well. Chakra isn't like such a hidden word nowadays. A lot of people are starting to learn more about it because of things like yoga and meditation and different guided meditations that you can find on really like Apple Music and Spotify. I mean, it's becoming a lot more mainstream now, but I like to be able to help empower people with their health. And so that's really why we put the conferences together.
Tell me a little bit about your personal journey. When did you start becoming interested in energy healing, and really you created this career out of something? How did this all start?
It really started for my love of people. I had this experience with one of my kids where the mainstream health wasn't like traditional healthcare, wasn't solving the problem in a way that I felt really good about as a mother. And so I feel like, mothers have that intuition, right? And I started to really just kind of connect with that, and I was able to find an iridologist who's somebody who studies the map inside of the iris, and she told me about a local energy worker that was near me, and we were able to take care of a pretty serious health condition just by using energy medicine in one appointment. So ever since then, I've been like, I feel like I need to get the word out about this, you know what I mean? Instead of something that would have been more invasive, a little bit more traumatic for my, at the time, 2-year-old, we were able to take care of it with, one appointment. It was pretty simple, actually.
That's really impressive. And it's not that you don't encourage medical doctors.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm not anti-doctor.
It's just another option, correct?
Exactly. Exactly. I'm never one to say, hey, do this instead of going to the doctor. No. I wouldn't do that at all. That's just not even a safe thing anyway. This is more like they call it actually in hospitals across the country, they call it a complementary modality. So.
Interesting.
Or health option. Yeah.
Fascinating. So it came from that experience you had with your child to where you are now. You'll consult, you'll help people, and then you have these big conferences. How did that evolve?
Well, as the time has gone on, I just realized that I can only help one person if I was a practitioner, which I really love doing still. But I don't know, I just really felt called to reach out to the masses of people. I know what it feels like to be disempowered and not know what other options there are. And I wanted to help empower people. And so, they come to our conferences, they get to customize their experience because there's so many different types of classes that they can choose from. So they get to choose what they want to learn about.
And I'm so impressed by the classes that you have. I was looking at the schedule for this upcoming conference in Salt Lake City. So many different things you talk about: acupuncture, yoga, gut health, intuitive eating, just a wide range of things, all that have to do with health. How do you decide what to focus on?
That is a great question. Seriously, I tell people just to connect with what feels right to them when they're at the conferences. How I decide what is going to be offered there is tons of research, because we get hundreds of applicants wanting to speak at our conferences, and we just go with what feels right. I don't really know how else to describe it. We really trust that inner voice, that inner knowing. a lot.
Has it surprised you over time to see how much interest has increased in this subject?
Well, from the very first conference that we ever had, we had 1,400 people at that very
You're
first
kidding.
conference. I was like, I don't even remember how many months pregnant with my 8th baby at the time. And, you know, I talked to the venue coordinator and he's like, so how many people do you think are going to come? And I'm like, maybe 300 or 400. And then literally, luckily we had room to keep expanding and adding more classes because it was huge. And from that time on, we've just continued to keep growing and adding in more conferences. Now we've been to multiple different states and just attracting huge audiences. And it's because people want to know what other options there are. It's not that, you know, the mainstream healthcare, traditional healthcare is all bad, but sometimes you want to know what your other choices are. And that really gives you empowerment as an individual.
And I'm glad you mentioned you have 8 kids.
I do.
That's amazing.
Yeah, my husband's really cute.
Well, that's good. So how do you juggle, you know, 8 kids? I know you probably get this question a lot, that you're also wanting to spread this message of energy healing. How do you align your priorities?
So how I personally align my priorities, I love that question. It's actually one of my favorite questions because I really feel that women are so held back in their own minds, they have their own limitations if they let it. But if they see that they have this other thing that is driving them, this other mission that is just really inspiring them, why not inspire your kids too at the same time? So I have a 20-year-old who owns her own business. She's actually my hairstylist.
She did a great job.
Thanks. I have my next daughter down. She's a professional photographer. She owns her own business and she is like booked like crazy for months out, loves doing weddings. My next daughter down, she owns her own business doing commissioned artwork. Like, I feel like what I've done is actually inspire my daughters to be empowered as a woman, as a strong woman, to say, hey, I have desires and passions too. And so really I get help. I don't do everything on my own. You know, I have a housekeeper and I have a nanny. I have people who help me too. But yeah, I definitely plan in family time big time. It's a huge priority for me.
And your family's a big part of this, but really they've been inspired to go their own direction and do their own thing. So it sounds like they've really followed your example in not holding back.
Exactly. I'm really proud of them. And you know, what you do speaks way more volumes than what you could ever say. So I could tell them, hey, go after your dreams and do whatever you want. But if I'm sitting on the couch at home, that's what they're going to be really listening to. Do you know what I mean? So I've felt like this journey has actually blessed my family in way more ways than I could ever even count. So.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about the specifics of the conference in Salt Lake City. When is it? How do you register? What are the costs? Things like that.
So how we have the pricing structure worked out is the earlier that you get your seat reserved, the cheaper it is. So you really want to get your spot reserved right away because every single week it almost doubles. Normally this kind of a conference would literally take you about right around $200 to $400 per ticket, and right now tickets are like between 30 and 50 bucks for a general admission ticket. And then if you really want front row seating, you know, because we have Carol Tuttle coming, she's going to be speaking on chakras and all kinds of awesome stuff. She's a best time seller, pioneer in the energy medicine industry. She's just absolutely amazing. You'll want to get front row seat. You can also register for one of the VIP tickets as well. So
where can we get more information?
So go to energyhealingconference.com, click on calendar and then Salt Lake, and really all the specifics are there. It's at the Salt Palace Convention Center, June 21st and 22nd, all day, all night. We're going to have over 200 different vendor spaces in the Vendor Expo, so you can even come learn a lot more about other alternative health options and services and products and all kinds of stuff. And there's even complimentary light therapy sessions, all kinds of great stuff.
When you had this health scare with your son and you went other routes, could you have ever imagined where you are today?
No, I really, because it's not like that was the only health thing that we've been able to personally benefit from as a family, but also things like, one of my sons accidentally lit himself on fire. we have a
sounds like my son.
Wood burning stove, and he literally like melted his back off. And literally using energy medicine, we were able to reconnect, and tissues were formed within 1 hour, pink healthy tissues, like all kinds of incredible stuff. It's not just for emotional and mental, you know, health. It's also for other stuff too, physical, definitely, for sure. So yeah, it's saved us so many times. We've been so grateful.
Well, I can tell you're very passionate about it, and
Yeah.
congratulations on building such great conferences and such incredible interest in this.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, you want to check out that conference in Salt Lake City in June. Lots happening there, a lot of topics and a lot of speakers over a whole varied slew of topics, so you want to check that out. All right, we have more coming up on Mountain Connections after this break.